Rebecca stared at the screen, her hand trembling around a glass of wine. The footage from the nanny cam played in grainy black and white. Kara, alone in Emma's room at night, opening a hollowed-out book and removing Rebecca's prescription bottles. The video jumped. Now Kara sat at Rebecca's laptop, gloved hands typing rapidly. Emails appeared, sent from Rebecca's account. Subject lines she'd never written. Appointments she never made. In the doorway, a shadow moved. Rebecca spun around.
The Hollow House. The Carson house stood proudest on Maple Lane, a declaration of success in white columns and manicured hedges. Inside, light poured through tall windows, casting geometric shadows across imported marble that no one noticed anymore. This house once breathed with laughter. Now it merely exhaled sighs. Rebecca watered the dying peace lily by the kitchen window, its edges brown and curling despite her careful attention. Her eyes looked past it just as they looked past Thomas when he entered. Their morning ritual unfolded with mechanical precision. Coffee poured in silence, toast cut diagonally, napkins folded into perfect triangles. Rebecca applied lipstick in the hallway mirror. Thomas straightened his tie. Their hands never touched when he took his briefcase. "Emma has a dentist appointment at 4, Rebecca said to the air between them. "I'll be home by 7, Thomas replied to no one in particular. At midnight, the drone of the lawnmower startled Mrs. Pemberton next door. She parted her curtains to see Thomas methodically cutting perfect lines in moonlight, his face expressionless, as if performing surgery on something already dead. Kara Winters arrived on a Tuesday, 26, with a soft voice and careful movements. Her resume listed childcare experience and a psychology degree from a good university. She smiled at appropriate moments and answered questions with just enough detail to satisfy but not bore. Emma is very sensitive, Rebecca explained, showing her the girl's bedroom with its constellation of glow stars across the ceiling. Children often are, Kara replied, running her finger along a framed family photo, lingering on Thomas's face a moment too long. They absorb everything. In her first week, Kara seemed to float through the house, learning its rhythms, memorizing its secrets. She noticed how Rebecca touched her wedding ring when anxious, how Thomas's jaw tensed when work called, how little Emma watched her parents with wary eyes. She folded herself into their negative spaces. When Thomas mentioned missing rye bread, it appeared in the pantry the next day. When Rebecca complained of headaches, Kara adjusted her office lighting. Her competence was admirable, her attentiveness unnerving. She knew my birthday, Emma told her mother one night. I never told her, but she knew exactly when it was and what I wished for last year. Rebecca smiled absently. That's nice, honey. What she didn't see was Kara in Emma's room later, sitting at the edge of the bed, stroking the child's hair, whispering, "Some wishes are better kept secret, don't you think?" Small disruptions began in March. Thomas's alarm failed before important meetings. Rebecca's medication ran out too quickly. Grocery deliveries contained items no one ordered. I specifically told you no cilantro, Thomas snapped at dinner. I didn't order cilantro, Rebecca replied, the familiar defensiveness rising in her throat. Kara looked up from helping Emma cut her chicken. The shopping service has been making mistakes lately. I've noticed it too. The following week, Rebecca found her mother's antique brooch in Thomas's sock drawer. When confronted, he stared at her as if she'd grown a second head. Why would I touch your jewelry? Later, Rebecca overheard Emma talking to her stuffed bear. Miss Kara says sometimes grown-ups forget things when they're sad inside. She says Mommy forgets a lot. The house began to feel like a maze where the walls shifted overnight. Keys migrated between drawers. Photos were rearranged in their frames. A distinct perfume, not Rebecca's, lingered in the master bathroom, then vanished when she tried to identify it. At night, Thomas received text messages that made him frown. Work, he'd mutter, though Rebecca never asked. Once she glimpsed the screen. Remember what we discussed. Time is running out. By summer, Thomas had permanently relocated to the guest bedroom, citing Rebecca's insomnia. Rebecca installed a deadbolt on her door after finding her journal moved from its hiding place. Emma began having nightmares, waking with screams about the shadow lady watching her sleep. During the day, she grew clingy with Kara, suspicious of her parents. Daddy was very angry on the phone, Emma informed Rebecca while coloring. Miss Kara says he has another family somewhere else. Rebecca froze. When did she say that? Emma shrugged. I don't remember. She says you forget things too. That evening, Thomas and Rebecca argued in hushed tones in the kitchen. You left the stove on again, he hissed. That's the third time this month. I haven't used the stove today, Rebecca insisted. Then who did? Emma. From the doorway, Kara appeared like a summoned spirit. I made tea earlier. Did I forget to turn it off? I'm so sorry. Neither of them could recall asking her to make tea. Later, as Emma slept, Kara sat in her darkened room, scrolling through photos on her phone. Pictures of the Carsons at restaurants, at the beach, in their backyard, all taken before she ever entered their lives. A digital museum of lives she had studied like scripture. On their anniversary, which neither had planned to celebrate, Rebecca found herself alone in the house. In the basement, looking for old tax documents, she discovered a box of home videos. On a whim, she connected one to the television. There they were, Thomas spinning her around at their wedding. Emma's first steps. Family vacations where they finished each other's sentences and laughed at private jokes. The three of them, faces aligned in joy, clearly a unit. Rebecca watched her past self lean into Thomas's embrace, his arm automatically tightening around her waist. The casual intimacy struck her like a physical blow. What happened to us? She whispered. She reached for another video labeled simply Nanny Cam. The footage showed Kara in Emma's room, carefully removing Rebecca's prescription bottles from a hollow book. In another clip, Kara wore gloves while using Rebecca's laptop, sending emails Rebecca had no memory of writing. Hours of footage revealed a methodical campaign, Kara subtly rearranging the house, planting Thomas's possessions in compromising locations, adding something to Rebecca's evening tea. Behind Kara's meticulously organized dresser, Rebecca found a false panel containing newspaper clippings about Thomas's investment firm from 5 years ago. A scandal quickly buried, accusations of fraud, a secretary claiming harassment, sudden settlements with non-disclosure agreements. The secretary's name had been Caroline Winters. Rebecca waited in Kara's room with the evidence arranged before her. When Kara returned, she didn't appear surprised. You've been busy, Kara said, setting down her purse with the precision of someone placing a chess piece. Not as busy as you, Caroline. A smile flickered across Kara's face, the first genuine one Rebecca had seen. He doesn't even remember me, does he? His secretary who misunderstood his intentions. The hysterical woman who made false accusations. The problem that his money solved. You came to destroy our marriage. Your marriage? Kara laughed softly. No, that was already decomposing when I arrived. I just accelerated the process. Thomas Carson ruined my life, my reputation. I simply wanted him to lose something too. By making me think I was losing my mind, by poisoning my child against me. Collateral damage. I didn't expect to. Like you. Rebecca stood, gathering the evidence. I'll go to the police. With what? Proof that I moved some items? That I befriended your child? Kara's smile remained steady. Thomas knows powerful people. I learned that lesson already. I understand your hatred, Rebecca said finally, but you misjudged something important. What's that? You thought I'd choose him. Rebecca didn't confront Thomas immediately. Instead, she began keeping detailed records of Kara's manipulations, installed cameras, recorded conversations. She invited Kara to stay, pretending ignorance, but began forgetting things Kara needed, misplacing her belongings, changing Emma's schedule. Emma mentioned something strange, Rebecca told Thomas, about Kara suggesting you have another family. Thomas's expression hardened. That's absurd. Of course it is, but she's been saying odd things lately. I'm concerned. Seeds planted, Rebecca waited. She showed Thomas videos of Kara searching his office at night, forwarded strange texts about watching Daddy's secrets from Kara's phone to Emma's iPad. Emma began having nightmares again, this time about Kara. She tells me stories about people who pretend to be nice but aren't, Emma confided. When Thomas found unauthorized transactions on his accounts, orchestrated by Rebecca using information from Kara's files, the nanny's carefully constructed world began crumbling. Your daughter seems afraid of me suddenly, Kara observed, her voice tight. Children are sensitive, Rebecca replied. They absorb everything. Autumn painted the trees in fiery hues. Inside, Rebecca moved through rooms that felt lighter somehow, emptier. Thomas had left 3 weeks ago, after Rebecca's evidence revealed not only Kara's deceptions, but also the truths behind them, the harassment case, the cover-up. His choice, leave quietly or face exposure and criminal charges. Kara had unraveled spectacularly when confronted by both Carsons together. Her careful composure shattered into hysterical accusations, some false, some devastatingly accurate. The breakdown witnessed by Emma's pediatrician, a court-appointed therapist, and 2 officers. Now the house belonged to Rebecca and Emma alone. The divorce proceedings were private, the settlement generous. Thomas's former partners, eager to avoid another scandal, had been exceptionally accommodating. Rebecca stood in the kitchen, sipping Cabernet as darkness fell. Through the window, she could see Emma playing with neighborhood children, laughing, unguarded in a way she hadn't been in months. On the counter lay an official envelope, confirmation that Caroline Winters had been committed to a psychiatric facility after being deemed a danger to herself and others. Rebecca had arranged for the best care possible, not out of kindness, but precision. She moved through the quiet house, touching surfaces that now felt like her own again. In Thomas's former office, she unlocked a drawer containing what she'd never shared, proof that she had discovered Kara's identity months earlier, had recognized her from company photographs, had realized the danger, but had chosen to let the drama unfold. Because Thomas deserved it, because she deserved better. Rebecca raised her glass to her reflection in the window, a silent toast to the woman who had emerged from the wreckage, not the same person who had watered dead plants and accepted hollow kisses. She didn't save the marriage. She buried it and danced on its grave.
If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.